Hello, and welcome to Fusion Writing, where building character meets creating structure. This is our writing week, and Tuesday, our map day, is when we go into some specifics about your writing assignment for this week, how you can put into practice all of the wonderful things we've been studying this month. So without further ado, I'm sending it right over to Victoria. Victoria?
Okay, guys, so it's time to start writing. Too often, in the beginning of a story or a project, it's hard to get those first words on the page. It's hard to think, how am I going to get my characters from here to over there and make that make sense? Or maybe you're just stuck, like you've got them in a position or you've written yourself into a spot and you can't get out of it. So let's look at 3 key areas that you can use to get that process started, okay? So the first one is setting. In terms of both your protagonist and your villain, think about what setting defines them. This can really be a fun exercise to get your imagination going. Let's start with your protagonist, because he's our hero. Everybody loves their hero and we love to write about them. So think about, what does that hero's environment look like? What setting describes them? Are the colors bright? Are they subdued? Is it winter colors? Is it summer colors? What's the feel? What's the tone? Describe the atmosphere for this protagonist. Just let your imagination run free and get that scenario on the page so you can think about what setting describes this person. Do the same for your villain. Perhaps your villain isn't all dark hues and foreboding atmosphere. Maybe your villain has a bright side. Maybe there's a pop of color about that villain. Think in terms of what setting describes this bad guy, and then start to ask yourself why for each of them. Why have you described their settings in the way that you have? These exercises can really help you dive deep into those characters and get a sense for who they are based on the environment that surrounds them. So setting is number 1. Dialogue is number 2. What if you start with your protagonist and give that protagonist somebody to talk to? It can be a friend, it can be a mentor, a colleague, whoever, but get a feel for their voice. Because let me tell you something, once you get a feel for that hero's voice, they will be nattering around in your head for the rest of the story. I don't care if you're in the shower, you're driving to the grocery store, you're trying to watch a movie, that character is talking to you. And that's a good thing, because that means you've nailed their voice and you've got them dialed into your head. Same thing for your villain. Think about, how does that villain present themselves in dialogue? Give them someone to speak to. Kathleen often talks in her character traits about, how does potentially your bad guy speak to people beneath them? How do they speak to people in authority? Do this exercise and get a sense for, how do they speak in relation to other levels of people? And those exercises are going to help, again, reveal to you, what is that character's voice and how do they sound? But as I said, beware, because once you get them locked into your head, they're going to show up all the time. That's a good thing for a writer, but it's also something that you have to learn to track. And by that, I mean, always have a note card handy. Because if nothing else, when you get to the grocery store, you can sit in the parking lot for 5 minutes and sketch out what that villain was saying in your head, or write down the conversation that that protagonist was having. That way you've always got it. You can capture it in your card. You've got it to bring home and install it in either your Zettelkasten or with your story cards. The third and final element is what I like to call scenes and sequels. A scene is an event or something that happens, and the sequel is the consequence, the action, the reaction that happens as a result of that action. So give each of those characters an event, a scene, something happens, and then write the sequel. What is the consequence of that action? Often you can learn something about your characters by the way that they react, by their subsequent behaviors. What do they do? Do they call a friend and talk out whatever happened? Do they have a monologue and mull it over on their own? Either one of those sequels are going to tell you something about that character. So using scenes and sequels, you allow yourself to walk through and model, how would this character react? Are they going to reach out? Are they going to go inward? Or are they going to do something else entirely? Sometimes, trust me, they will completely surprise you and you will write something and look back and go, where did that come from? That, my friends, is your characters working out your story, and you just get to go along for the ride. So those are my 3 suggestions for writing week exercises. Experiment with setting and atmosphere. Set up visually the spaces that those characters occupy. Second, use your dialogue. Get a feel for their voices and how do they talk to other people in relation to their own station. And then finally, work with scenes and sequels and let those characters reveal to you who they are by how they react to the scenes that you write them into. So with that, I'm going to send you on your way and throw it over to Kathleen.
Okay, thank you so much, Victoria. Wow, that is a really exciting exercise. I love that idea. We're going to first give him in the setting, and then we're going to
give him something to say.
Give him the dialogue, and then we're going to do scenes and sequels, so we get to practice with them. Okay, well, I'm going to lock into those ideas because I'm layering onto it this time the character trait of humility. And I want you to start with a character card for humility. And you're going to make one for your protagonist and you're going to make one for your villain. And the strange thing is that for both your main character and for your villain, the character trait of humility is going to start out in the rudder position and it's going to move. Your hero is going to move into the anchor position. For your villain, it's going to move up into the wing position. And for each of them, I want you to also start out with a character trait that's in the wing position. You get to choose which one, and it's going to stay put, but it's going to come into play and it's going to give extra dynamism, extra realism to your characters. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's going to cause a character trait when it's in the rudder position. How are you going to know that humility is in the rudder position? Well, let's start out with what humility is. As you'll remember, humility is having the ability to accept things that have been either handed to you on a silver platter or dumped on you like you're the mushroom people. And so it's just, the character did not get to choose this particular basket of advantages or disadvantages. And when humility is in the rudder position, the character is struggling with accepting that. They're either struggling with tamping down their ego and understanding that they were given a whole lot of advantages getting started, or they're building up their confidence and understanding that just because they started out with so many disadvantages does not put a ceiling on their capability. So that's what it means. That's the struggle that you're facing in the rudder position. And so what does it mean when the hero succeeds in pushing it down into the anchor position? What that means is that your hero is being able to recognize it and accept it. Either he's getting a good dose of, oh, I didn't really give myself that. I need to understand that that was handed to me and now I accept it. Or else he has to be able to say, well, by golly, I can live with that. And there's another strange thing that you can mix in there if you would like to, and that is events in the character's past. If an event has happened to the character is no longer able to change that event. They have to recognize it with honesty, which we covered last time. With honesty, they have to understand that, yes, that was their doing, but then humility has to step in as well because it can't be changed. So they have to find a way of accepting that that was part of their past. So that makes the character very, very complex because then you're also bringing honesty into it. But you will find that whatever character trait you put in the wing position, it's going to make it a little bit harder for your hero to succeed in pushing humility down into the anchor position. Now, let's talk about how this dynamic works when you're dealing with your villain. How is your villain struggling with humility? Generally speaking, a villain has the attitude that they are superior to other people. And because of their superiority, they are justified in treating them cruelly. They're justified in ripping them off from their goods and property. They're justified in doing whatever they want to another human being because of their natural innate superiority. So if humility has suddenly got into for your villain, that is a very, very dangerous thing. The villain is much safer when humility sits up here in the wing, or better yet, in the pinnacle. So when you're villain, what has caused humility to slip into the rudder position for your villain? Has he encountered someone that, oh my gosh, might be his equal? What has shaken him up so much that he's got to now decide, is he really the top dog? Now we know that with the villain, we're going to let it either stay there or move up into the wing position. If he moves it up into the wing position, that's going to mean he succeeded in convincing himself that he's superior. Now, if he's wrong, that could be his downfall, because that would mean that he has evaluated this other character, possibly our hero, as being beneath him after all. I'm safe, which means he's blind to something that the hero can now do. And if it's something that the hero can now do only because he's accepted what he was handed on a platter, then you've really, really got a satisfying story. Because then when you bring your villain down, everyone gets it. They get it. They know that when that villain said, yes, I am superior, that they were making a mistake and they were making an opening. And so it just gives you life and justification for your story. So think about layering that level of character complexity in to the assignment that Victoria gave you to set your characters. So I'm going to turn it back over to her to sum us up. Victoria?
That was extraordinary. Guys, you were getting a master class in these sessions. I'm not even kidding. Just that one set of changes that Kathleen has lined out can completely tie up your story for you. I can't say enough about how important it is to think about how these things fit together and then how you can toggle them to make them work in the story. So I encourage you, sit down with those two characters, sit down with your 3 assignments, and start thinking about how can I make those character trait changes, whether it's in regards to the dialogue or the scene and sequel. Doesn't apply so much to setting. Setting is more of your own exercise. But man, when you start talking about dialogue and scene and sequels, you can show those things to your reader. And if nothing else, use them as ways to make those discoveries for yourself as the author, because that's going to make you write them that much better. So sharpen your pencils and get ready, because this is going to be a great writing week. We meet every Saturday over in LiLLiPub, which I'm sure Kathleen can show you where that is. And we share our stories and we talk about these things and really dive deep into the material. So we would love to see you over there. Come join us and share what you discover.
Okay, thank you so much, Victoria. LiLLiPub.org. It's where you can post your writing, and every Saturday we meet on a Zoom call where we share our writing and we help get writing tips. We give good advice very, very calmly and patiently. Nobody's going to knock you over the head, but man, are you going to get some good writing tips. So come on over to LiLLiPub.org. It's a unique opportunity right now while we're small. See you over there. Bye-bye.